something interesting came up this week. Estelle, tell us about Joanna Rushing's visit with us.
So Joanna Rushing came over and chatted with us, and she talked about what her first question is when people talk to her. They always ask her, "What's your rate?"
Because Joanna Rushing's a lender with primary residential mortgage.
Yes.
And the first question is always, what's your rate?
What's your rate? And what do they actually mean?
So we're
when
going to
you're
talk about that, right?
Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk, episode 590, mid-July 2026. Just past halfway.
Can you
halfway
believe
through
it's
the
already
year.
mid-July?
I know. It's Venturi Realty Group. We have Tracy Venturi, Estelle Venturi, and I'm Tico Venturi, and we've been doing these for a while, just keeping everybody updated on what's going on in the market. I've got some market stats, of course.
Yay, market stats.
Some national stuff. I just did my video talking about the June data. You can find that on my Facebook and on YouTube if you want to dig into what's going on. There's kind of something really interesting about average and median sale price that's kind of surprising to a lot of people. So what do you have for us this week?
Well, I have what sellers should be asking their realtors when they are getting ready to sell their home.
Good.
Perfect.
Tracy, we've seen those AI generated lists that people send us asking questions, and they're so generic and I don't know how people think they're really useful. So we're going to go into some real questions.
Yeah, totally. And something interesting came up this week. Estelle, tell us about Joanna Rushing's visit with us.
So Joanna Rushing came over and chatted with us, and she talked about what her first question is when people talk to her. They always ask her, "What's your rate?"
Because Joanna Rushing's a lender with primary residential mortgage.
Yes.
And the first question is always, what's your rate?
What's your rate? And what do they actually mean?
So we're
when
going to
you're
talk about
asking?
that, right?
Yeah. And we started to think about it. It's like, oh, how many questions in real estate? They're asking one thing, but what they're really asking, what's the underlying thing that they're trying to decide? And so we've got a few examples there I think should be helpful. So, Estelle, do you want to start off with your quizzing us, drilling us?
Yeah, let's start. So these are questions you should be asking your realtor when you are getting ready to list your house. And number one, we're going to start off with, how is the recommended price determined?
Good one. How's the recommended price determined? We're going to look at what are the relevant sales in the area, and we sometimes call them comparable sales, but what's been selling.
Yeah, more than, traditionally we call them comps or comparables. And the problem with that is no two homes are identical.
Right. Even the same floor plan, right?
Yes.
They have different features. So how does it compare in condition, location, features? What other homes are currently on the market competing against your home, and how would your house stack up against that? And, just generally in that same price range, what's going on in the market?
So really it's asking, how did you come up with this price, right? You're asking your broker, asking your realtor, how did you come up with this price? What method did you use? What did you look at? And are you adjusting for things like condition of my home versus other homes, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, garages, all that stuff, so that you can understand that they actually had a method to come up with that number.
Right.
Yeah. And the next one you could ask is, how have you actually seen the property? Have the agents or your agent seen the relevant properties that are active?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question, because there's so many online tools that'll give you it's an estimated value, just based on the data, right? So, we have one of those tools. Every website nowadays has this tool that gives you an automated valuation.
And of course, we would want to make sure that the realtor would actually tour your property to get you the best value estimate out there, right?
Well, the old saying is that the Zestimate can't smell the cats in the house, is because, again, it's just looking at data. It's looking what other homes in the area have sold for in square footage, but it can't adjust for condition of property and
Right.
what's going on. Yep.
It's estimates, not boots on the ground.
No.
So what should be done before a listing? What should the buyer or sellers be doing before listing their property?
Well, and I think that's a great question a seller should be asking their realtor, because, Tracy, you and I have gone on appointments before where we say, no, I say, well, I don't think you need to do that. Or you're usually the one that says you don't need to do that. I say, no, you do need to do that. And back and forth. So I think having that conversation is important to do the things to understand what they truly think is important, what's not important, and be realistic.
Sure. So, what should be repaired? What should be left alone? What's going to actually bring value? What's going to be important to buyers? Should you do staging? Obviously, cleaning is always top of the list, right? Getting that house spick and span, even if you can't declutter as much as you'd like, or if you don't have the funds to repaint or recarpet or do things, cleaning is really, really important.
Yeah.
So as a seller, I want to ask what marketing is included.
Yeah.
What do you add? Like, how do you advertise? How do you get my property out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, we all use the multiple listing service. Okay, the multiple listing service does multiple things. One, it shares information about your property, not just to other brokers in the market, but to all the other websites out there. And these days, pretty much every property that goes into the multiple listing service ends up on all the 1,000 different websites. Of course, there's the four big ones: Zillow, Homes.com, Realtor.com, and Redfin, right? Those are the big four. And then Truly, I guess you could throw in there too. But everybody does that.
Right.
The question is, Tracy, is how is it actually presented when it hits those websites?
Sure. So obviously we've got the professional floor plans, the professional photography, virtual tours, social media promotion, broker tours, open houses, all sorts of ways to promote a property. I think it's important to just ask the broker that you're considering to list your home for sale what things they do and give you examples. Show me. Don't just tell me what you do. Show me. Give me papers that you use, or if you do a flyer, or if you put a single property website out there, right? Pull it up
If
on
you
your screen for me.
if you optimize it for AI searches,
Right. Show me.
that's between Sam and I. That's something we've been Sam standing over here. We've been working on this whole thing to optimize the property so that the AI searches, which is the new world, can find that property.
Right. Right.
So the next question is, who will be handling my home? Who is going to be my main point of contact? Who's going to be listing it? Because we have teams, real estate teams, then there's individual agents. Who will be my main point of contact?
That's a good one.
Good
So
question. Yeah.
obviously we have a team and we try to be really clear on who's handling and who's helping, but we should understand the whole model of whoever you're considering, right? Sometimes it's an independent agent. Maybe they use an assistant, maybe they don't. Sometimes they might have a licensed paperwork type assistant, and sometimes maybe an unlicensed admin assistant that's helping them. And sometimes people work in teams. I know on our team, a lot of times you have two listing specialists, basically, so that if one of them is not available, you can reach the other one. So it is important to know what kind of support the person you want to hire to sell your home has.
Yeah, and it's understand that not every pretty much all realtors are independent contractors, right? Some of them are solo brokers, like you said. Some of them work as part of a team, but they're all going to do things a little bit different in the way they communicate with you. You just want to understand that and understand how it's going to work.
Leading into communication,
Mhm.
how is that? How will communication and the market response be handled?
Wow, that's a good one because there's a lot more than just sticking a sign in the ground, right? It's the getting the word out, getting feedback from those who do show it to help maybe change something, like you said about the cat smell. Tigo, if we don't get feedback about something not working or something wrong with the house, how can we tell our client to fix it, right? So making sure that the listing partner you choose works hard to get that showing feedback so that you can adjust if needed, right?
Well, and I think part of it is asking them what their communication style is. Asking them, like, are you an emailer? Are you going to check in with me once a week? Are you going to check in with me every day? Do you text? What is it? Are you going to give me activity reports on, what type of views there's been on the website? Of course, the showing feedback as well, which
Right.
is important.
Right.
So, yeah, I
Just
think
what
understanding
to expect.
Well, I think it's just like anything, right? Setting expectations up front on what that communication is going to be is critical.
Right. Right.
Okay, so then once we do get a contract, how will offers be evaluated? What is the process there? What is your process?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that because that's really where, I mean, you're the expert at that, Tracy.
Oh, thank you.
Well, because you get an offer, and it's like, okay, people always want to know, okay, what's the price? that's not the only thing. And asking your realtor about how they look at that and, what pieces are included in that is critical.
Of course. So, the highest offer is not always the strongest offer. So making sure that whoever you're choosing is going to put together a good summary for you, point out some of the things that might be flaws, some things that might be pitfalls. Sometimes it's a type of loan might not be the right type of loan for the property, or they may want some personal property that you don't want to convey. Just making sure that all of that information is part of the presentation of how offers are being evaluated,
Yeah,
right?
because it's not always, it's, obviously price net to you as a seller is really the most important thing, let's be honest. But the dates, the type of things that the buyer wants, what type of contingencies are in there, and again, what type of financing I
Well,
think is really important.
sure, the appraisal risk is a big one,
Yeah.
right? Inspections, concessions, all sorts of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've reviewed the terms and we're under contract. All the terms are agreed upon. What happens after we go under contract and everything is agreed upon initially?
So that's kind of asking your broker. It's like, okay, once I'm under contract, what's the process? What happened? How does, what do we do? Like, how does that go? And how is that communicated, right?
Yeah. And oftentimes that's not even something you're talking about when you're first interviewing and choosing your
So true.
realtor, right? It's one of those things that comes up when it comes up. But when it comes up, you want to know, what's that runway look like for me? When should I feel like the deal is solid and my packing and all the things I've done to move are really going to happen, right? So a lot of things after, when I talk to my seller and say, congratulations, your offer is accepted, we're now going into pending sale, I'm putting it in MLS, I say, not much happens on your side right now, but on the buyer's side, they're going to be getting this to their lender. They're going to be we'll be getting it to title, but they'll be scheduling inspections and things. We'll let you know when those are. Not much for you to do as a seller up front, right? For the
There's a
first
lot
2
of
weeks or
waiting.
so.
Yeah, a lot of waiting for the seller,
Right.
at the beginning, but there's still a bunch of dates that the seller needs to be aware of and tracking and asking your realtor, how are you going to communicate those dates to me so that we can stay on track and not miss any? The buyer has a lot of dates that are important, and if they miss them, it's critical. But the seller also has some dates that they miss that they could be in breach of contract. So it's important to understand how that gets all communicated.
Right.
Yeah. So sellers should be comfortable asking the agent to substantiate their experience. So how can agents' claims be verified when you're talking with a listing?
I've got one thought
Agent.
on this. I don't know
Oh,
what
go
you're
ahead.
thinking.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, really, I think Zillow is one of the best sources. Zillow is by far the biggest national website for real estate. Every realtor has a profile on Zillow. Every realtor has a profile on realtor.com.
Whether they know it or not.
Every realtor has a profile on homes.com, whether they know it or not. And if there's nothing there when you go to their profile, that tells you something.
What should we be looking for on their profile, though?
Should be looking
Mhm.
for reviews or testimonials. You should be looking for past sales, because Zillow does track past sales of that broker or team in our case. And so if there's nothing there, that tells you something. Either it tells you they haven't updated it like they should be, or it tells you they have no sale.
So I think that's
And
one part.
And I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to I'm not trying to throw brokers under the bus, but there's certain things that tell you if they're doing the things that a professional should be doing online to show their experience.
Right. So one of the things that you mentioned briefly, so we're a team, right? We do everything under our team name. So if you look on Zillow for a sell Venturi, it might not show any sales, or it might show one sale, but you have to look up a little bit higher to see the team information, right? But obviously,
That's a good point.
but there's lots of ways to verify, right? What somebody's saying and what their marketing really looks like. Like you said, Google them. see what comes up.
Google them. I mean, it's the same old thing, right? And anybody in business should be Googling themselves all the time, at least once a month, and see where they're at and see what's going on in their business.
Right.
I'm a
But
I'm a big,
ask them to give you addresses of their last 3 homes they sold as a listing broker,
Mhm.
and look at the photos, look at the information, find out if they attached a floor plan so that people all over the world could know what that house really is all about. Look at verified reviews, look at their professional profiles. Examples of marketing, they should be able to show you, here's a flyer from a house I just sold, that type of thing. So, and I know be cautious of some of the claims of I'm number 1 or I've been top at blah, 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 right?
There's a kind of an inside joke in our business that you can be number 1 at just about anything. There's a famous billboard in from years ago. It was a broker in Los Angeles, and he had this big billboard and it says, "I am the number 1 realtor," and in small print it said, "according to my mom."
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, it
Well, and years of experience and number of sales alone doesn't tell you whether that realtor you're talking to is the right realtor for you. And sometimes, not everybody uses the latest and greatest tools if they've been in the business a long time. They might still be doing things their old way.
and it may work for them and it may work for you. But I think it kind of goes into the last question was,
Yeah. Does the agent's approach fit for you and your needs and timeline? And is it a good fit? Is the approach good?
I think that seller broker relationship, there's a lot of trust there. You have to have somebody that you can connect with, you can trust, you can have frank conversation, and they can have frank conversation with you too, right?
They have to be able to have hard conversations with you because I think sometimes it's scary to tell people hard things. It's hard to tell somebody your house smells like cats and that's going to keep your house from selling, right? Those are hard things to say. But if we don't do it, we're not helping that person.
Sounds like we're picking on the cat people,
I
but
know Estelle's a cat person, but
yeah.
I don't think her house
Hey,
smells like
we had a
cats.
skunk in our backyard, or 3 skunks in our backyard last week. So, we've been there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, I got off track.
Yeah. But I think in closing, we're saying there's the right person for you, but, do your research, check, before choosing a person to represent the sale of your home, interview if you need to, 1 or 2, get a recommendation from somebody you trust who had a great experience, right?
That's a really good,
And
and honestly, that's where, these days a lot of our business comes from.
right. Others who have worked with us recommending us.
Yeah.
It's huge for real estate business. Yeah, ask specific questions and make sure you feel comfortable. I think a lot of times it comes down to personality and enjoying each other and that you're going to be working together.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. For
yeah.
sure. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, good.
Good.
Well, thanks. That was good. So, okay, I want to talk about some stats.
Yeah.
We should have the Zillow Home Value Index here later today, and I'll get that out. But we just got, so Tracy, we've talked about this one before. I'm going to pull it up on the screen.
U.S. home price expectations.
Yeah, so Fannie Mae / Pulsonomics, they survey 100 different economists across the country, kind of in all different categories. Definitely all the economists that are housing experts. And what they look at is, they survey this 100 and then they give it like a mean of all of these and what they expect. And what they came up with is for the rest of 2026, this is national. I know I always talking about real estate's local, real estate's local, real estate's local, which it is, right? But nationally, they're saying that home prices are going to be probably about 2% year over year. And we're already halfway through the year, and that does look to be about right. They're going to say it's going to go a little bit better in 2027, up to 2.4%, 2028, 3%, 2029, 3%, 2030, 3.5%. You get to 2029 and 2030, you're kind of just, guessing really, because so much can happen as we know.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting thing is, Tracy, you're talking about a appointment you went on and the seller was going, okay, should I, take my equity out of the home and invest it elsewhere? Should I, let the equity to grow in the home? And so I think that's what you have to consider is the expectation is over the next 5 years is moderate price appreciation and no crash. I think that's one of the big takeaways too.
Yeah. So, which leads me to, unless there's something else
Nope.
there, leads me to the questions that we were talking about. Let's talk about what is somebody really asking when they say,
What is your interest rate?
"What is your interest rate?" Yeah. What is that, Tigo?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think mostly they're saying, "Can I afford to buy a house?" Right? Or they're truly shopping around and doing that. The problem with that question, "What is your interest rate?" It's the one that lenders dislike because there's so much that goes into it. There's no one interest rate.
Right.
Everybody's got a different interest rate.
And it changes by the hour, really.
Well,
It
true,
can,
true. Yeah, it
right?
changes multiple times a day. So, that's one of them is like, how much home can I really afford? Can I
Right.
afford to buy a home? I think is kind of what it is.
Right. And another one is it a good time to buy? What are they saying? What are you saying when you say, is it a good time to buy?
I think that's I'm scared and I'm not sure and I need more information.
Yeah, I would say it a different way is when they say, is it a good time to buy? They're saying, I don't want to make a bad decision. Am I making the right decision?
Right.
Kind of the same thing you said. But yeah, is it a good time to buy? Is it,
Good time to
am, I-
sell?
am I going to regret this later? I think is what they're asking.
Yeah.
Is it a good time to sell too?
Yeah, I think it's partly that too. I think if selling, I think there's also another piece to that is how much equity do I have? How much money am I going to walk away with?
Yeah.
How much is my home worth?
Right, right. How much is my home worth? I think is how much equity do I have? And if I sell right now, how much money am I putting in my pocket? Or they're saying, can I get what I want out of this home to do the next thing that I want to do?
Right. I think the underlying theme with these questions is stability and certainty.
100%. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something people do every day. So there's a lot of fear and not understanding
I think a lot of it does have to do with risk. I mean, Tracy, you and I are in the process of working on an investment property, and even us, we're going, okay, we got to balance. Okay, is this the right thing? Is that the right thing? I mean, we do this every day, and yet there's still some uncertainty, and there's always going to be when you're dealing with this much money.
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly.
But we all still need a place to live.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. I think is for a buyer is, can I afford the payment for this property? And, will this home work for me?
What did Joanna say? She said when she asked people, what do you remember? Do you recall what your interest rate is? They might not be right on the target there, but they know exactly what their monthly payment is going in and out
Yeah,
each month,
that's a good point.
or
Yeah.
their payment
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
out.
that's a really good point. Anything else this week?
I think that's it.
Okay, mid-July, pray for rain. We'll get the monsoon going here really soon, I hope. It is the Venturi Realty Group of Real Broker. You can reach us at 505-448-8888.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.